So I've mentioned before that I'm not really much of a vampire fan. I'm way more into werewolves. Those are my favorite creatures, when it comes to the original horror monsters. And every time I turn around, we're always getting a new vampire-styled film, right? You had The Last Voyage of the Demeter a while back. Nicolas Cage did Renfield. You had the weird Abigail, the vampiric ballet dancer. And then even at the end of the year, we have the Nosferatu, remake or reimagining with from Robert Eggers. So there's always plenty of room for vampires to roam around and lurk around at night, but there's never any werewolves, right? So I was ecstatic when I had heard and saw the trailer for Werewolves. I was excited for Blumhouse's The Wolfman, but after seeing the first trailer and it being a little lackluster, and then seeing the first look at that Universal Studios panel thing, it just kind of, I don't know. I'm not really excited for it, but I will see it, and I'm excited that it's being made, but I don't know how good it's gonna be. But this Werewolves movie was absolutely fantastic. It was just a well done, well directed action, werewolf film, and I will say the werewolves themselves looked fantastic. It was a mixture between both CGI and practical effects. The design looked cool. The transformations were awesome. It's like, goddamn, this was a fantastic movie all the way around, right? But yeah, so the film followed this. It's pretty interesting. That's the super moon that, where the moon is the closest to the Earth. And apparently this one year, it was the closest it had ever been. And it triggered all these genes, these late genes in all of humanity, where they made almost everybody that was exposed to that moonlight turn into werewolves. And it just massively decreased the, human population overnight, because the werewolves just went on a killing spree. Now, a year later, they find out that another moon like that, another supermoon, is going to happen again, so they're all preparing for the worst. And it really feels like a zombie apocalypse movie, or like some type of just random creature feature, but it's werewolves, so it's just awesome, right? But so the Frank Grillo, his character is like this biologist, and he has a family. His sister-in-law, his late brother's wife, and her daughter. They're he's helping them get their house ready for the siege of werewolves that night. But he has to also go and help with the government's creating a cure. And apparently the cure, I forgot what they call it. Moon screen, like sunscreen, but moon screen, because it's the light of the moon that turns you into a werewolf. And they make it into this spray. They spray you, so you can spray yourself down. So when the moonlight shines, you won't be affected. It's only for the night. So as long as you just don't go into the moonlight, or if you do go into the moonlight and this is able to shield you, you won't turn into werewolf, right? But it's kind of unfortunate, because you would have to get that every time a super moon happened. And so that night of the moon, they end up doing their first test run on the cure, and to see if it works. And it actually does. It only lasts for about an hour, and then the test subjects end up turning into werewolves. And it just so happens that it just totally messes up the facility. Like, they try to keep these werewolves contained, and then just one incident after another ends up, of course, having those werewolves end up getting free and just massacring everybody at the lab. And meanwhile, werewolves are roaming the streets, because obviously there are people that are turning into werewolves already. There's gangs and criminals that are that want to turn into werewolves, that say let the change happen. There's a civil war pretty much going on between people that are human indefinitely and those that are turning into werewolves. So it just was really awesome, right? And then the film mostly follows Frank Grillo's character Wesley and this Dr. Amy Chen, played by Katrina Law, who did a fantastic job. It felt like you're watching a Resident Evil movie at times, the way they actually worked together and were able to protect each other and watch each other's back as they were traversing the city. The whole film follows them trying to get back to Wesley's family to make sure that they're okay, his sister-in-law and her daughter. And along the way, they fight vampires, they find, resistance people, his neighbor turns into this crazed werewolf. I think I said vampires. See, I'm so used to fucking talking about vampires, but along the way, they fight just a multitude of werewolves, and it's just absolutely fantastic. I was blown away as to how much fun I had, how engaging it was, and how even some of the jump scares got me, where it's just werewolves busting through walls. It was fucking awesome. But again, because I am a werewolf fan, I was just so excited for this movie to be out. I guess we'll just have to wait and see, next year how The Wolfman does, but I guarantee that this movie is probably way better than that movie is. Just saying. But if you like werewolves, I would definitely suggest to check out Werewolves, because it is just phenomenal. But yeah, this has been Ghost in the Craig. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll see you at the next full moon. Ow! Ow, 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 ow.